It's Wednesday, May 25th, and this is your coffee break on the HAN Network. I'm Kate Czaplinski, back in studio this morning for a short time before heading back to the ballpark at Harbor Yard for tonight's FCAC Baseball Championship game. But before that, we have the latest local news for you today, as well as our final interview with Silver Hill Hospital in New Canaan as part of Mental Health Awareness Month. Today, we're going to be talking about chronic pain treatment with Dr. Sedan Savage. Donald Ang will have your Nutmeg Sports Update today and a look back on this day in history. But first, on to today's news. An unknown substance delivered to the Department of Children and Families in Milford Tuesday has been sent to the State of Connecticut Department of Public Health Lab for analysis. At approximately 2:18 in the afternoon Tuesday, Milford Fire Dispatch received a 911 call reporting a suspicious package containing an unknown substance, according to Fire Battalion Chief Anthony Fabrizi. The package was delivered by the United States Postal Service to the Department of Children and Families office building located at 38 Wellington Road in Milford. The origin of the package was confirmed to be a country outside of the United States, and the unknown substance was discovered by an employee who opened the package. Milford firefighters responded to the scene along with the department's hazmat unit, as well as the Connecticut State Police Bomb Squad, FBI, and the DEEP. There were about 100 employees in the DCF building at the time of the incident, and all those employees were quarantined in the area as a precaution. There were no reported injuries or ill health effects suffered during the incident, but you can get updates on that story at milfordmirror.com. And Ansonia Public Schools were closed on Tuesday after a student reported an anonymous post on the After School app from someone who wrote that he or she was tired of being bullied and they threatened to shoot it up, according to police. All schools reopened today on a regular schedule, but with heightened police presence. The city put all 4 of its schools on lockdown at 1:15 on Monday and canceled after-school activities for the day after learning of the potential threat. You can get more on that story at valleyindy.org. And Connecticut's Department of Energy and Environmental Protection is forecasting unhealthy air quality for sensitive groups from today, Wednesday, May 25th, through Saturday, May 28th, due to predicted elevated ground level ozone pollution for southern Fairfield County as well as other counties in the state. These areas are expected to experience unhealthy air quality for sensitive groups. As Connecticut prepares for Memorial Day weekend and temperatures begin to warm up this week, air quality that could impact the most susceptible residents, including children, the elderly, and those with respiratory diseases such as asthma. Commissioner Rob Klee said that if you do venture out this weekend to one of our beautiful state parks or forests, he said, I hope everyone will do their part to help improve air quality by carpooling and arriving early. Multi-day air quality alerts have been rare in recent years, according to Klee. And in other news today, in Stratford, a male motorcycle rider died early Monday evening on Meade Street. Stratford Lieutenant Frank Iannotti said Tuesday that the accident occurred about 6:30 in the evening Monday near Moffett Street. The name of that man was not immediately available, and the cause of that accident is still under investigation. And a New Canaan woman was arrested in Trumbull for possession of dozens of prescription pills that she intended to sell, according to police. The arrest happened on Stewart Place at 1:50 in the morning on Saturday, May 21st. Police said that 22-year-old Lauren Freeland was turning off Main Street when a Trumbull officer noticed that her license plate was obstructed. According to a report, Freeland was pulled over and gave the officer permission to search her vehicle. An investigation revealed various amounts of a generic form of Xanax that were found in little baggies throughout the vehicle, including in the trunk. In total, police seized 58 pills, none of which were in their original container. Freeland told police initially that the pills weren't hers and she didn't know why they were in individual baggies. She later admitted to the possession and was subsequently charged with intent to sell because the drugs were placed in those small bags. In addition to the pills, police found a metal grinder that contained some marijuana residue. She was brought to Trumbull Police Headquarters where she was released after posting a $2,500 bond, and she's scheduled to appear in court on June 6th. And Wilton police arrested a Florida man and woman May 23rd for identity theft and other charges. Bank of America discovered and then notified the United States Postal Inspection Service fraudulent debit and credit cards were being mailed to 4 Snowberry Lane addresses without the consent of those residents. The expected delivery date was Monday, May 23rd. And Wilton detectives, together with the U.S. Postal Inspectors, set up the area of Snowberry Lane around 11 in the morning on the delivery date. They saw a car enter the area, and police said the passenger of the car reached out and took envelopes containing the fraudulent cards from one of the victims' mailboxes. According to police, the car then attempted to leave the area but was intercepted. The driver, 26-year-old Evans Rosemond of Miami, and the passenger, 31-year-old Valencia Gamble of the same address, were arrested. Both Rosemond and Gamble were arrested and charged with identity theft, criminal attempted identity theft, as well as conspiracy to commit 6th-degree larceny. Police said the investigation is tied to incidents in Florida, New York, and Massachusetts, as well as Fairfield County communities that include Greenwich, Stamford, and New Canaan. Police added that a federal investigation of the incidents has been opened in Florida and that the United States Postal Service is working in conjunction with federal agents on that case. And a dead bear was found at a nature preserve in Roxbury earlier this month and was shot dead and likely dumped on the Roxbury Land Trust property, according to the State Department of Energy and Environmental Protection. Officials at Roxbury Town Hall started receiving complaints around 8 in the morning on May 18th that a dead black bear was on the property, so officers from State and Con Police responded and found the animal. A necropsy was performed on May 19th and determined that the bear was shot. Officials are still trying to determine who shot the bear, and anyone with information is asked to call 860-424-3333. Switching gears now and taking a quick look at the forecast. As we mentioned earlier, there is an unhealthy air quality alert in effect for the rest of the week that could affect young children, the elderly, and anyone with respiratory issues. But today it's going to feel a lot like midsummer out there. For the area, a high of 85 predicted, and clear tonight, a low of 65. Thursday, warm again with a high of 84, and a slight chance of some thunderstorms and showers tomorrow evening. But we're going to step out for a break, and when we come back, Donald Ang will take a look back on this day in history. We also have some lacrosse highlights from yesterday's semifinals and some more news coming up after this.
Connecticut is coming back to hometown banking, to a partner that makes small businesses feel big, where community comes first, where you get the know-how only neighbors can deliver, where saving time is important too. It's time to expect more. It's time to bank well. Bank smart. Bank local. Bank well. With the 24-month Bank Well Smart CD, you can earn 1.35% APY and raise your rate and add to your CD.
Have a sports injury or a slip and fall that needs immediate care? Coastal Ortho Express Urgent Care gives you direct access to an orthopedic specialist fast, without an appointment. Biking, golf, tennis, soccer, whatever the sports injury is, sprain or fracture, Coastal Ortho Express can help. Coastal Ortho Express Urgent Care, open Monday through Saturday, now in 2 locations. The iPark building at 761 Main Avenue in Norwalk and 36 Old Kings Highway South in Darien. Or go to coastalorthoexpress.com, like them on Facebook.
Walter Stewart's Market in New Canaan is your time-saving local shopping destination for the best of spring. Find many of your favorite products, from great specials on everyday items to the freshest organic produce, artisanal cheeses, and grass-fed steaks. Drop off your knives to be sharpened, grab a beautiful bouquet of spring flowers, and stop in next door for a wine tasting. Plus, their personable staff is always ready to lend a helping hand. So stop in to Walter Stewart's Market, 229 Elm Street today, or shop online at stewartsmarket.com.
You're watching the HAN Network, and you're not alone. Nearly 1 million people have watched our live sports, news, and entertainment programming since the network launched in August 2015. Advertise on the network that reaches Fairfield County, Connecticut's most engaged audience. Contact Advertising Director Jessica Murrin at 203-273-7312 or email jessica@han.network.
We're back on this Wednesday edition of Your Coffee Break on the HAN Network, and it's time to throw it over to Donald Eng's look back on this day in history. Check it out.
Human contact on an unprecedented scale. But first we go to 1935. Jesse Owens of the Ohio State University breaks 3 world records and ties a 4th at the Big Ten Conference Track and Field Championships in Ann Arbor, Michigan. The so-called Buckeye Bullet actually had to hold a part-time job at the school because he was never offered a scholarship. Owens is best remembered for duplicating that feat and winning 4 gold medals the following year at the Berlin Olympics. 1961, the beginning of the Apollo program. President John F. Kennedy announces before a special joint session of Congress that he is setting a goal to put a man on the moon and return him safely before the end of the decade. 1968, the Gateway Arch in St. Louis is dedicated. It is the world's tallest arch and the tallest man-made monument in the Western Hemisphere. There's actually a reticulating elevator inside that can carry you to the top in profound discomfort. And finally, now we go to 1986, 30 years ago today, for this. That, of course, Hands Across America. 6.5 million people form a human chain across the country and held hands for 15 minutes. Participants paid $10 to reserve a spot in the line, and though there were undoubtedly many breaks in the chain in the more remote areas, the participants, if they'd been able to line up single file, would have formed a human chain more than 5,000 miles long. The event, by the way, raised $34 million for local anti-hunger and anti-poverty charities. That is your look back in history for today, May 25th, and I'm Donald Eng.
All right, well, we had Don for history, and now we have him today for a Nutmeg sports update because it's been such a busy week of FCX semifinals and championships starting tonight that Don is now filling in at the Nutmeg sports desk. Don, and we had a lot of excitement last night.
It was thrilling, really, and it's going to continue on throughout the rest of the week as we continue with the FCAC playoffs. As far as the lacrosse goes, it's going to be Darien versus New Canaan twice in lacrosse for the FCAC championships tomorrow. Both the Rams and the Blue Wave advanced to the final in girls lacrosse, and that was earlier this week. Last night, New Canaan played Ridgefield in the opener of the semifinals. Darien played Staples in the nightcap. Let's look at some of the highlights, starting with the Rams.
This HAN Network video is brought to you by Coastal Orthopedics.
Down by Ridgefield, that's Alec Mullen, the senior midfielder, going down the right side to throw it on net, and Skylar Blair gets us going 1-0 Ridgefield.
And really good offense in transition there. Quick passes once they gain to the offensive side of the field. They're in the box. It's bing, bang, boom inside the box.
So they'll play patiently. In no rush, up to now Blair the blast, and Blair the goal.
And it's a mismatch for the Tigers. They get Skylar Blair up against the short stick, Drew Marciano.
Now Chase Levesque gets it ahead. Working right down, tic-tac-toe, score! Smith tried to back in, can't get the shot, fed across, Burt, score!
And it all starts on this side of the field with the open Braden in front.
Near side, Apelt goes behind the cage, threading down low and throwing it home in an athletic move. It's Ryan O'Connell. The goal is good. It's a 4-4 game.
Good job now getting to the middle of this zone defense as they're right back the other way.
And
it's
able to
O'Connell
answer.
Again.
O'Connell makes it a new game. It's 5-4. O'Connell to Burt behind the cage. Feeding down low, and the answer there. Jackson Apelt makes it a 7-5 game. Then down low and hitting the post. Bounced right back around and put home by Smith. 8-5 game.
O'Connell works through the slot from left to right, puts it off the left post. What a lucky bounce for the Rams. Swindell able to collect the rebound right to Kyle Smith on the doorstep. Fake high down low through the 5-hole, and it's a 3-goal game.
Playing catch again. Over to Skylar Blair. Blair close and scores, and a flag right as the goal scores. So now it's an 8-7 game. Bouncing along to the near side, scooped along. Each team had a chance, and Kyle Smith makes them pay. And this one is going to be in the books, and the New Canaan Rams will make their way to the FCAC championship game on Thursday night. The final score, 10-7.
So that was New Canaan coming back from a 3-goal first-half deficit to beat Ridgefield 10-7. Ryan O'Connell, Kyle Smith, and Clayton Burt, each with 2 goals and an assist in the win. Skylar Blair with the hat trick for the Tigers. As for the Wave, they were led by Jack Niffen with 5 goals in a dominant 14-4 win over the Staples Wreckers. Let's check out some of the highlights from the nightcap.
This HAN Network video is brought to you by Bankwell. Bank smart, bank local, bank well.
And let's do it, we're underway.
In boys lacrosse, they're here with a 15-2 record, 9-2 in the conference.
And here they come, looking for their first goal of the night, and they've got it.
And Rob, they jump out right away in the exact same way we thought they would. It's
taking it easy, setting up their offense as they start to drive and get in close, and they're able to tie it up. The nifty move by Tanner Wood. It's a 1-1 game. It also would propel Darien into 3 championship games right here on the HAN network. Going to the left side. Low shot and thrown home. Evan Zinn gives Staples a 2-1 lead. The first goal of the night, the Wreckers have gotten the last 2. 4.5 to go in the opening stanza. Bounce down, it goes wide. They're saying goal. No, yes! They're going to give it to him. Again, staying inside the football numbers, here comes Minikis in a 2-2 game. 2:05 to go in the first quarter at Jack Cassagrande Field. Far side bouncing around and bouncing in. It goes for Kevin Lindley in a 3-2 lead. Off to Niffen. Niffen gets down low, stops, pops, score.
And it happens that quick.
Back out it goes. And this time top shelf. Niffen with the answer to make it 8-2. I give Sean all the credit. And that goes in to make it a 10-3 game. Liam Richmond makes it a 7-goal lead. 2 to go. Behind the net. Fed along. Here's Niffen. Niffen the blast, and he scores again. That's number 5 for Jack Niffen. Fire it along. Down to 3. And this one will be in the books. And the Darien Blue Wave will come out and celebrate a 14-4 victory, and they will move on to the FCAC Championship to play the New Canaan Rams.
So the championship games are set. Darien and New Canaan will play tomorrow for the girls' title at 4. The Wave and Rams will then play for the boys' title at 7. Both games can be seen live on the HAN network. Now we go to girls' tennis, where Darien continues a remarkable spring season of success in all sports, really, as the Wave have clinched the FCAC championships with a 5-2 win over Staples. Due to the weather, the match was moved indoors to the Chopin Racquet Club in Stamford. It is the first league title since 1997 for Darien. The match hinged on the play of number 3 Emily Callery and number 4 Emily Neuner. Callery defeated Olivia Foster 2-6, 6-1, 6-2. Neuner topped Lindy Sinclair 6-4, 7-6. Also, the softball semifinals are on tap for today with a battle for Stamford. Up first, the second-seeded West Hill Vikings will take on number 6 Stamford at 3 at Sacred Heart University. That game will be followed at 5 by the all-Trumbull showdown between top-seeded St. Joseph Cadets and the number 4-seeded Trumbull Eagles. The boys' volleyball semis are also today. Darien and Trumbull will play at 5. Staples versus Ridgefield at 7. Those matches are both at Fairfield Ludlow, and the winners will play Friday for the championship. That is your look at sports for today, and we'll be back this afternoon for more coverage of the live baseball It's baseball today. Sorry.
Yes, it's
baseball today from the ballpark.
Yeah, that's going to be a good time. That's at 7 o'clock. Darien and Trumbull face off. Thanks so much, John, for filling in today on Nutmeg Sports. We're going to get back to Nutmeg Sports update, I should say. Sorry. We're going to get back to a little more news today. An old mansion was ravaged by flames overnight in Newtown, according to firefighters. Eyewitness News reports that the fire continued to burn on Castle Hill Road early Wednesday morning. Hot spots were still popping up hours later. An assistant fire chief said the call came in as a brush fire when an eyewitness saw a big orange glow. According to firefighters, they were overcome with flames when they arrived on the scene, and they said it took 2 hours to get the situation under control. The home has been vacant for decades and no one was hurt. Crews reopened Castle Hill Road around 6:15 this morning, so no school bus routes were expected to be impacted as previously thought. The cause of that fire is under investigation. And New Canaan Police Officer Ron Bentley has been assigned to work the downtown beat in an effort to deter criminal activity, enforce traffic laws, and make the village of New Canaan a safer place to both visit and do business in. That, according to Police Chief Leon Krolikowski. Bentley will become the town's community impact officer starting May 31st and is expected to walk, ride a bicycle, and connect with merchants, residents, and visitors to the center of town. Krolikowski said that this assignment was made as a direct result of both electronic surveys and discussions with business leaders who asked that they increase police presence in the center of town. The chief said that in the recent past, they have seen out-of-state career criminals come to the town and commit serious crimes. Moreover, he said, we've had some serious pedestrian accidents and an increase in distracted driving within the district. Officer Bentley was raised in New Canaan and graduated from New Canaan High School. You can get more on that story at ncadvertiser.com. And Darien Superintendent Dr. Dan Brenner advanced the discussion on stadium lights at the May 24th Board of Education meeting by unveiling parts of the plan for their installation and use. As far as games per team, Brenner laid out a chart that looked at the recent usage and success of Darien athletic teams to try and build a system of deciding how many games and additional games would need to be played for playoffs. Ultimately, he said 8 regular season games in the fall, 2 per team, and 4 regular season games in the spring adds up to 12 games for light usage. With playoff consideration, the 3-year average has been 5 additional games, but obviously that number is in flux. Costs were also offered in the plan. The light system would cost about $600,000 and the upgraded sound system would cost $65,000. The Darien Athletic Foundation would assume the full cost of the installation and would cover it through fundraisers and gifts. Should the plan be adopted, it would be in a manner similar to that of when the fields were turfed. The DAF would not begin fundraising until the board took action. The board is anxious for community feedback and ideas about these new developments. Chairman Michael Harmon reminded all in attendance that his contact info is available on the board's website and that he welcomed feedback. Brenner said he would also reach out to the neighbors of Darien High to get feedback from them as well about the plan. Well, we're going to step out for a break, and when we come back, we have our final interview of the month with Silver Hill Hospital in New Canaan. We're going to be talking with Dr. Sadon Savage about chronic pain management. So stay tuned. That's coming up right after the break. For more than 50 years, Triple S has been Fairfield County's expert service for carpet, upholstery, and drapery cleaning. We provide the best in repairs and in-depth restoration, understanding fabrics and how to properly clean and restore them. Our staff will come to your home to clean your wall-to-wall carpet to perfection. We can also pick up your fine carpets and bring them to our facilities. With locations in Norwalk, Stamford, and Stratford, Triple S will get the job done fast, big or small. At Triple S, you can count on our people as well as our cleaning. Find us at triplesclean.com or 203-847-8000. A Better View Window Cleaning Plus has been cleaning glass all over Connecticut for over 20 years. They also specialize in cleaning chandeliers, mirrors, skylights, tiles, and will power wash anything that needs cleaning. They hold an A+ rating with the Better Business Bureau and are fully insured and bonded. When you deal with a better view, you're dealing with the best, not the rest. Call today for a free estimate, 203-284-8836, or visit them online, abetterviewcleaning.com.
For over 25 years, Mike Cizik Painting and Wallpapering has been the name to know for residential and commercial properties in Fairfield County. He uses only the top brands, including Benjamin Moore, for impeccable preparation and lasting quality. Call Mike now and receive $500 off any job over $7,000. Mike is currently accepting reservations for spring, so call him today at 203-770-8869 or 203-972-3310. For your custom painting, finishing, and staining needs, it's Mike Cizik.
At the Language School in Ridgefield, we teach practical language for real life, tailored to your professional needs or those of your children. Offering more than a dozen languages, the school specializes in creating customized classes for businesses, government agencies, and healthcare professionals in Fairfield and Westchester counties. Native speakers from around the world will instruct students of all ages in the language and the culture using a hands-on method. Find out more about what makes us different at thelanguageschoolglobal.com or call us at 203-241-7010. I'm Kate Czaplinski for the HAN Network, and May is Mental Health Awareness Month. And we're looking to get a conversation started and raise some awareness here at Silver Hill Hospital in New Canaan. Right now, I'm joined by Dr. Seddon Savage, who is the medical director for the Chronic Pain and Recovery Center. Dr. Savage, thanks for joining us today.
Well, thank you so much, Kate, for coming to visit us and for your interest in these very important issues.
And today we're going to be talking about treatment options for chronic pain. And first, I just want to ask, what is chronic pain?
That's a more complicated question than you might think. First, it's helpful, I think, to talk about what pain is, because pain is really a complex experience and it's a highly personal experience, and it can be many different things. So pain is a protective sensation that we have that lets our body know when harm may befall us, when we're being injured or something's threatening to injure us. So that's the most common definition of pain, and that's what happens in acute pain. You get cut or you have an injury, you break a bone, you have surgery and you hurt afterwards. That's acute pain. But chronic pain can be much more complicated. Sometimes chronic pain occurs because there's an ongoing process in the body, an inflammation or an ongoing injury. But often, chronic pain happens after everything's healed. But the nervous system, the neural pathways that normally signal acute pain remain active. And that can happen for a variety of reasons. And we call that neuropathic pain. So chronic pain can either be because of a ongoing injury or irritation to the body. It can be because of purely neuropathic or changes in the nervous system, or it can be due to a combination of both. Then we're learning more and more about chronic pain, the neurobiology of chronic pain, and we understand that at every point along the way in the transmission of that pain signal from the tissue through the peripheral nerves to the spinal cord, up the spinal cord to the brain, and then through many networks in the brain, things can happen that change that signal of pain. It can amplify the pain signal and it can reduce the pain signal. And those things can be physical things such as other sensations that are transmitted through the body. It can be the presence of certain medications in the body, the presence of or lack of enough oxygen, or the chemical balance in the body can all change that signal. Very importantly, thoughts, feelings, memories, and other things can also play in to the final perception that the brain has of pain. So it's complicated.
It is. And in talking about chronic pain, you hear a lot about pain management. Mm-hmm. What is that?
Well, pain management can be many, many different things. So when I think about treating pain, first of all, fundamental to determining a treatment plan for an individual patient is identifying the components of that person's experience of pain. What are the physiologic processes that are generating the pain? What are the filters through which that person's experiencing the pain? What are their feelings? What's their general physical condition? Are they sleeping well? How are their relationships? How are they moving? What's their posture like? physical things and psychobehavioral things are very important. So once we understand the experience of pain, we need to address the pain comprehensively. Now, if it's a simple acute pain, you sprain your ankle, you may need some ice packs and some ibuprofen for a couple of days. If it's a more serious and complicated and persistent pain, you may begin to need exercise. You may need to manage your stress better, because we know that stress increases the experience of pain. There are lots of different things, different programs that we might put together to treat an individual's pain. But when we think about pain treatments, I tend to think about them in 4 broad categories. And whether it's acute pain or chronic pain, it's helpful to consider what from each category might be helpful. So probably medications are what we most commonly use, and there are many different types of medications for pain. There are, as we mentioned earlier, anti-inflammatory medications such as ibuprofen or acetaminophen, mild analgesic medications. There are strong medications for severe pain, like opioid medications, things like oxycodone or morphine, which are quite potent medications. But we also, for nerve pain, we use anti-seizure medications sometimes, because that nerve pain, very similar to seizures in the brain that cause epileptic type events, there can be short circuits in the nervous system. So we'll use those anti-seizure medications very effectively. Sometimes antidepressant medications, because of their effects on neurotransmitters, can be very helpful in certain type of nerve pain. There are topical agents that we can apply. There are at least 3 different mechanisms by which those work, and for some conditions they can be effective. So medications are number 1. There are a number of procedures that can be done to get at that tissue generator of pain, or sometimes to quiet nerves down, often called nerve blocks. There are trigger point injections, there are steroid injections. Procedures, sometimes implanted stimulators, can be helpful. So medications, procedures, and then very important, particularly in chronic pain, are psychobehavioral interventions and physical therapeutic interventions.
And I know a lot of times when we hear about chronic pain, we think about, more opioid type medications, but you're saying there's other options, things people can do.
Oh, there are many other options. And in fact, the more experience we have with opioids, the more respect we have for both their potency and their value, but also the fact that we need to use them very carefully. And they are really rarely a first-line intervention for chronic pain. Much chronic pain can be managed with other medications, procedures, and very importantly, physical therapeutic and psychobehavioral interventions. So if I could just say a few words about those latter 2 categories, because really, if we think about chronic pain as a chronic medical condition, not unlike diabetes, heart disease, asthma, other things that we treat aggressively, sometimes with medications and procedures. But we know for all those chronic conditions, if the patient is actively engaged in self-care, for example, for diabetes, perhaps it's diet and exercise that are important. For heart disease, similarly, diet and exercise can be important. Stress management can be very important. It's just the same for chronic pain. Though there may be a role in patients for particular medications, including in some patients opioid medications, if those are prescribed and the other interventions are applied in a context of self-care, what can I do? What increases my pain? What decreases my pain? How can I manage to keep it at the lowest level possible and engage in my life? Do things that I enjoy, participate in activities that are important to me. The outcomes will be much better.
Now let's talk a little bit about addiction and some of the medications that can be prescribed and just the pathway to that and how that can happen.
Well, addiction, for many pain interventions, addiction is not really an issue. When we're talking about physical therapy or meditation or CBT or medications such as anticonvulsants, anti-seizure medications, antidepressants, nonsteroidal anti-inflammatories, though people can become psychologically dependent on almost anything, addiction per se is not something we usually consider in the context of those interventions. However, when we talk about opioids or even some muscle relaxants, there is a propensity for these medications to produce what medically we call reward. Most people would think of it as a high or euphoria. So these medications can, in some patients, cause a high or reward. And in people with a vulnerability to the development of addiction, they can go on to be associated with an addiction. Addiction to opioids is a particularly problematic, all addiction is a challenge for the individual, but it can occur very rapidly in vulnerable persons, and it also opioids can be associated with overdose deaths, and not only in people who are addicted. So opioids slow the breathing, and over time most people become tolerant to that, so you can use them if you start at low doses and increase slowly. They can be used safely. But if you use a dose that you're not accustomed to, or a much higher dose than is recommended, it can slow the breathing and ultimately stop breathing, which leads to lack of oxygen in the heart, which can lead to cardiac arrest and death. So in persons who develop, and that can happen with people just taking a mistaken dose, or sometimes people will use an opioid experimentally to get high, and it can happen on the first time if the dose is too high. But it's more common in people who've developed addiction, of course, because they're working to create more and more of a high, and they may be using them more frequently. So tragically, we're seeing rising opioid-associated deaths all over the country, and particularly in New England. In many places, but New England is one of the hot spots for that.
Now, if someone is suffering from chronic pain, what do you suggest they do in looking for a physician to help treat them?
So I think in seeking care for any chronic medical problem, it's very important to work with your primary care director, primary care provider. It's a director of sorts, I guess. Primary care provider, whether it's a physician, nurse practitioner, or a physician's assistant. I think we all need to have somebody who we really trust and can rely on to coordinate our care. So, and then hopefully your primary care doctor will know who the good pain providers are in a particular community. You want to be able to engage with providers who will look very comprehensively at your particular pain problem, help diagnose the components that are contributing to your pain, and help you manage them. And often that will be a multifaceted treatment. Medications may be helpful, but you may also need to engage in exercise. One of the strategies that's clearly becoming very important in pain management and in management of many chronic conditions is deep relaxation or meditation, a form of stress management. But we're beginning to see that there's actually a neurobiologic effect on the body and on the central nervous system and the peripheral nervous system through these techniques. So exercise, stress management, deep relaxation, meditation, very strategically applied use of particular medications, the right medications for your particular problem, and interventions from time to time can be very helpful as well, those nerve blocks or trigger point injections, other types of things. I would just add that there are specialized pain medicine practitioners. Many of these are board certified, and if they have board certification, they should be trained in a comprehensive multimodal approach. Often we find that particular clinics will only offer one modality. So if you're seeking a pain treatment provider, it's helpful to call ahead and say, well, what approaches do you use? And listen carefully to hear if they seem to provide multiple different approaches, because you need to draw on those as may be helpful for your particular problem.
Now, Dr. Savage, anything that patients shouldn't do when they're suffering from chronic pain, anything you suggest they stay away from?
Well, I think it's important to remain engaged in things that you enjoy, remain engaged with family and friends, to take care of yourself, to get up and be active, to keep moving. So the opposite of that is what I'd avoid. And unfortunately, it's really a reflex. When you have pain, it can be a reflex to just stop moving. You're really frightened that you're going to hurt yourself more. And so you can become very deconditioned and just very inhibited about moving, it's also not unusual for people to disengage from their families. They don't want to be a burden, so they kind of withdraw, and they feel that they're not interacting with people in the same way, so they may avoid getting together with friends and may feel that they can't be involved in the things that they enjoy. But it's important not to withdraw and to not give up the things that are important to you, that give your life meaning and pleasure. You may have to find new ways of doing those things, and you may have to change somewhat in the way you relate to people or the way you move and the type of exercise you do, but keep moving, keep engaged.
Dr. Savage, thank you so much. This has been really enlightening.
I hope it's been helpful, and we're happy to help at any time.
Well, thank you so much. All right. Well, for more on our partnership with Silver Hill Hospital, you can check han.network all this month. We'll see you next time.
Thanks so much to Silver Hill Hospital for working with us all this month to help raise mental health awareness. And if you missed any of those interviews from earlier this month, you can watch them at han.network. We're going to start wrapping things up here on your coffee break, but it's still going to be a busy day. 2 o'clock, Nutmeg Sports live from the ballpark at Harbor Yard, so be sure to check that out. And at 5 o'clock, I'll be at Harbor Yard with a news brief for you, bringing you some of the latest headlines. And of course, 7 o'clock, Darien and Trumbull face off for the FCAC Baseball Championship. We won't be in studio for coffee break tomorrow, but you can check out a news brief at 1 o'clock as we get ready for both the girls and boys lacrosse championship games. All right, well, we'll see you next time, everyone, and be sure to check out all the action tonight.